regular meals, which tend to be much better than state meals. And overall, he will be certainly much safer in an open environment than having to require or need the protective custody of what he might need at a Rikers.
I also want to ask you, this case in particular, and we talked about this on this show as well, just about the public support that we have seen for this man who is accused of killing Brian Thompson, and what that looks like on the internet, and just how high profile, that not only high profile, but just how he has gotten so much public support from people. What does that mean, if anything, when you're inside this facility? Does he get letters or phone calls or anything like that, or it doesn't matter at all?
Well, certainly people could put money on his account for commissary and for emails. He'll get letters. He might get fan letters. Other than that, it makes him, in my opinion, much more vulnerable, much more susceptible to extortion, especially once, not so much where he currently is. This might be the safest part of his whole journey. If he is convicted of federal charges, which would certainly be better than the state charges in terms of prisons, he's going to have to figure out with his team where to go, where will be the safest facility. Is he going to need psychological services? Or is he going to, depending upon his sentence, have to remain somewhere for life? And he will face inmates that are not fans of his, do not care about United Healthcare, usually care about one thing: what can you give me? How much money can your family send me? Or else. And it's a very scary predicament that he and his family have to be concerned with going forward. This will be, in my opinion, the safest part of his whole experience, being in Brooklyn MDC.
Yeah, and I know, again, as I said at the top of this interview, you are advising his legal team. You've not been retained by them. Is that something you all have talked through, just his particular situation, in the fact that the public does know that he comes from a well-to-do family, things like that?
So I've spoken with his legal team. I've spoken with them on a number of occasions. I've also spoken with the legal staff at Brooklyn MDC as recently as yesterday to try to help arrange the legal visits for him, for his counsel. So I wanted to clarify that. I'm sure that they were blindsided the other day when they learned it was federal. So they're going to have to pivot and do whatever is necessary to deal with that charge. I'm sure that they were probably preparing for the state charges and a potential state incarceration. Federal is completely different, and it's something that I'm sure that they will be addressing as time goes forward.
All right, Sam Mangione, thank you so much for your insight on this. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jessica. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Well, you've heard from CNN concerning Luigi Mangione. I am trying out this new right here. This is a new setup. This is Streamlab. This is an OBS. I'm used to using OBS, and I just got back home with my daughter, and I'm like, let me just try it out. Let me see what time it is, and it's looking like it's all right. But I might have to end this stream and then go back to OBS. But for now, let's see. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in one more time. You know what time it is. It is your boy, Genesis. What are you guys doing tonight? What are you guys doing tonight? It is Saturday. Christmas is close. I went out with my daughter. We went to watch the Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk fight. It was pretty much nice. Of course, Alexander Usyk won. I didn't have a favorite. I didn't have someone who I wanted to win. I sort of kind of wanted Tyson Fury to win the boxing match, but Alexander Usyk is just on another level. He's been on another level forever. He beat Anthony Joshua.
Welcome back, America. Stephen A. Smith. So could you see yourself seeing what you see now?
Alexander Usyk.
And obviously Donald Trump can't run for president again, but if he could, under this current...
Anyway, we are back here. Listen to what Stephen A. Smith has to say on Levy Show. Check.
Welcome back, America. Stephen A. Smith. So could you see yourself seeing what you see now? And obviously, Donald Trump can't run for president again, but if he could, under the current circumstances, could you see yourself voting for him?
Quite possibly. I'm not going to sit up there and dismiss that anymore. I think we're beyond that. He would have to prove a lot, Mark. And I'm not talking about policy now. For a second, allow me to say this. What concerned me about Donald Trump, and the reason I voted against him and voted for Kamala Harris, was because I felt that he would be divisive, that he would create chaos because he demands such a level of loyalty and fealty to him. And that would take priority over governing our nation. That was my concern. And so I'm looking for both sides to work across the aisle from one another. Having said that, when you see some of the things that he said, if he follows through on some of the things that he has said, it's not just about eradicating inflation, improving the economy, obviously controlling our borders. These are all things that I care about, make no mistake about that. And I certainly would support him in that regard. But it can't be just about fealty to him and loyalty to him. It has to be about getting the job done on behalf of what's in the best interest of the American people, as opposed to yourself, and not engaging in the kind of juvenile tendencies, tweeting all the time and going after people who are really much irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. You do things like that and you show that you're the adult in the room, yeah. I don't think anybody could dismiss Donald Trump at this particular moment in time, not just because of him, but because of what we've seen the Democrats do. We're not falling for it any longer. The American people aren't falling for it any longer. I voted Democrat, and I got to tell you something right now. I don't like the fact that I did. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't want to hear about, oh, we're about law. We're about a law. Nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the law. But then you go out and you pardon your son and you try to blame everybody else for it. I don't want to hear about defund the police. I don't want to hear about, what there should be open borders. I don't want to hear this stuff. And I don't think most of the American people want to hear that. We're thinking about the state of affairs that's in. We're not about America only, but being about America and prioritizing what's going on in this nation with the desolate and the disenfranchised and everybody else in between, and looking out for the best interest of what it is for America. That is not a crime for an American politician or a commander-in-chief or a senator or a congressional figure to have that mentality. I want them to have that mentality. So I think about things along those lines. And I'm no longer interested in, nor do I believe any of us should be interested in listening to a bunch of fear-mongering to tell us who we shouldn't vote for. Why don't you come up with a plan that tells us why we should vote for you? That's what I'm interested in. And if Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Byron Donald, Marco Rubio, or the host of other Republican candidates coming down the pike, that's the kind of message that they're going to put forth, I'm down for it. I'm open-minded enough to make sure that I entertain that from a policy perspective. That's what I want for the American people. That's what I want for this nation.
That's why we love you, my man. Now, one quick question. I don't have a lot of time left.
Sure.
You get this all the time. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Kind of a dumb question, but I like it anyway.
I got to tell you something right now. You can never count out Patrick Mahomes, the reigning two-time defending Super Bowl champion. But this guy, Josh Allen, with the Buffalo Bills, the way he's looking right now, he's my leading candidate for league MVP honors. He looks absolutely phenomenal. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the Philadelphia Eagles played the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl and Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills ended up winning a Super Bowl championship. The way this kid is looking, he's looking that special.
I know. And
everybody's smart. Everybody's getting wiser. It's like, no, we're not taking that anymore, man. F all of that. Check this out.
For more on the border crisis, we're joined now by President-elect Trump's incoming border czar, Tom Homan. Tom, thank you for taking time. Two big stories from Colorado to here in New York, where I am. TDA gang members arrested. Your reaction to it and really your insight, if you can, about just how rapidly this dangerous, violent Venezuelan gang is growing in the U.S.
Well, look, Jeff, you and I have talked about this many times. It all goes back to the vetting program. You got Secretary Mayorkas saying these people are properly vetted before they're released in the United States. But we don't have access to criminal information from Venezuela. We don't have access to criminal databases and information in most countries around the world. So when they say they're properly vetted, they're running them through NCIC, which is our system, our IIII state system. But Vetting doesn't include their criminal histories in their home nations. And so Secretary Mayorkas been misleading the American people, saying they're property vetting. These people are safe. This is a clear example of it. And as you and I discussed before, TDA, when we first discovered the United States, we said it's going to rapidly expand across the country. The good news is you got President Trump coming in office on January 20th. TDA is on notice. And ICE officers across the country are prepared to go out and target public safety threats, but TDA is on top of that public safety threat. So their days are numbered. I can't wait till we get an administration to take care of these people, because they're going to be arrested, they're going to be detained, and they're going to remove. I've been talking to several different countries. If Venezuela don't take them back, we got other countries who are stepping up and say they will. So they will be deported.
I want to touch on that because obviously Venezuela is a country that doesn't have a repatriation agreement. They don't take them back. Earlier this week on Monday, Tom, I was able to ask President-elect Trump specifically about what about Venezuela not taking people back. Here's what the President-elect told me. Listen here.
Discussion, sir, with in terms of your mass deportation plans, have you had any preliminary discussions with countries like Venezuela, from where the Tren de Aragua gang is now popping up?
They'll take them back. They're all taking them back. Yep.
So
They'll take them back.
Have you had any preliminary discussions with anyone in Venezuela, or is there going to be a negotiation early on when President-elect Trump is sworn in to sort of try and get some sort of agreement?
Look, President Trump's a strong president, right? During the first administration, El Salvador didn't want to take back MS-13 members. It took President Trump 48 hours until I was filling planes full of MS-13 members going to El Salvador. So I think there'll be a negotiation. I think it'll be a one-way negotiation. President Trump's a strong president. He's not going to put up with this. But if the negotiation or the discussion takes a little while, we got several other countries wanting to take him on day one, but I think President Trump will be successful like he was in the last administration. He got Mexico to remain in Mexico. He got Mexico to put military on the border. He got El Salvador to take their MS-13 gang members back. He got the 3 Central American countries to agree to the third safe country agreements. He puts America first, and he's going to do it again starting January 20th.
The bust of the TDA gang members here in New York, we have learned that law enforcement, a combined joint federal law enforcement task force, was able to identify this apartment where they were holed up, specifically because one of them had an ankle monitor, and that assisted with them getting them. Are you looking at ways that you can enhance that, and how will that work?
Well, there's going to be a hell of a lot less ankle monitors, so we're going to lock them up. We only put ankle monitors on people that we release. We're going to end catch and release. Of course, there are going to be the exceptions, right? There's a significant health issue that we can't care for them at the time. So, number one issue, we're going to end catch and release. So there's going to be a lot less that's going on. And second, we're going to enforce the rules of those ankle monitors. Look, if you're in this country, even if you claim asylum, there's conditions of release. And committing a crime is a violation of those conditions. Being involved with gang activities is a violation of the conditions. They can, even if they're claiming asylum, you can lock them back up into detention because they have violated the rules of release. So there's going to be a lot tougher issue under the Trump administration because less people are going to be released, if any, and the conditions of release will be adhered to. You violate conditions of release, you'll be locked up within the next hour or so when we find you. So the good thing is about New York City, I've had a discussion with Mayor Adams. He's stepping up. He's going to be with us shoulder to shoulder, look for these public safety threats. He doesn't want his officers be immigration officers. I don't either. I want him to help us locate public safety threats and the 300,000 missing children. He is dedicated that he's going to work on that too, because many of these missing children we'll find in New York City.
You mentioned that meeting that you had with Mayor Adams, and obviously Adams has done a 180 on the sanctuary city protections that his city has traditionally given to migrants, and he's had enough of the criminals. Here's a little bit of what Mayor Adams told Martha McCallum this week. Listen here.
Sanctuary city is totally different from a man-made crisis that we saw. What a sanctuary city is not is having an unsecure border and allowing gang members to come in, paroling people into the country where you're telling them you can't work for 6 months or a year and you have to be dependent on the local cities to take care of you.
How encouraged were you to hear Mayor Adams take that position? And as you look to other cities where they're continuing to hold out, in San Diego, they even enhanced sanctuary city protections, how do you plan to deal with that?
You know, Griff, I've called out the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, on your show for the last 3 years. Didn't think he was doing enough. And I made the comment, you know, I think he forgot what it's like being a cop. He became a politician. But you know, when I sat down with him, I saw the cop come out of him. He doesn't want his officers to be immigration officers, but he wants to protect the community safety, which means help me find these public safety threats. We've been clear, President Trump and I have both been clear, we're going to target public safety threats first because they pose the biggest danger to this country. So, you know, I was really happy with the conversation we had. Of course, let's see what the actions are. The talk's there. Let's see if the walk is going to be there. But I'm encouraged by that discussion. Again, I think he understands that we're going to concentrate on public safety threats. I don't want him to help us find just illegal aliens. That's immigration work. I want his officers to work with our officers to make New York City safer, and we're going to do that. And you're right. I'm hoping that discussion, him come to the table, will be a domino effect to have other mayors contact us and willing to work with us. Sanctuaries are sanctuaries for criminals. Any elected official, mayor or governor, your number one responsibility is protection of the community. Help me, help ICE remove public safety threats from your community. Not only remove them from the community, we're removing them from the country so they can't reoffend in that very immigrant community in which they live.
Well, it'll be fascinating to watch to see, as you point out, Tom, if other cities, mayors, and sanctuary jurisdictions do take a note from Mayor Adams and how that all gets underway here next month in the early part of next year. Tom Homan, thank you for taking time, and have a Merry Christmas.
Hey, it's Will Kane.
Notorious Metropolitan Detention Center, commonly known as MDC. The 26-year-old is the latest high-profile inmate at the Federal Detention Center. Former inmates include sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, farmer bro Martin Shkreli, and R. Kelly. Currently, Sean Diddy Combs is also being held there on federal charges, including sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. Mangione and Combs also sharing a lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, who is working on Mangione's case with his wife and lead counsel, Karen.
I'm going to try and minimize the amount of time he spends in very, very difficult and I believe inhumane housing conditions in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Facility.
Agnifilo recently argued to move the music mogul before trial because of the conditions at MDC. While the department wouldn't confirm details of any specific inmate, policy shows upon arrival they undergo a 21-day evaluation to determine in what unit they will be held. Because Mangione's case is high profile, in September, a federal judge condemned the facility's conditions, prompting the Bureau of Prisons to appoint an urgent action team to, quote, take a holistic look at the challenges at MDC Brooklyn.
So it's a big deal, and I think that tells you all you need to know with respect to what's happening. Yeah, there.
As for Mangione, a Bureau of Prisons handbook outlines daily life behind bars, including a 6 a.m. wake-up call for breakfast, sweeping and mopping his cell, a new change of clothes 3 days a week, and a chance to shop in the commissary once every 2 weeks, where he can buy candy bars, crossword books, and deodorant. In Pennsylvania, more than 150 donations were made to Mangione's commissary account. The Bureau of Prisons won't comment on inmates' accounts.
CNN has learned that commissary money that was in Mangione's account in Pennsylvania will be transferred to the Bureau of Prisons for Mangione. Also important to note, his attorneys in court said that they reserve their right to request bail in this case, possibly at a later date. Bryn Gingras, CNN, New York.
Joining us now is prison consultant Sam Mangel. Sam is in touch with members of Mangione's legal team and staff attorneys from that detention center, but has not been retained by the defense. Sam, we wanted to make sure everybody was all on the same page there. Nice to have you here with us. I just first want to know from your perspective what it's like in this facility and how Mangione might be treated.
So first, thank you for having me back. I've described this facility, and it's kind of caught on as a catchphrase, as the worst facility. I mean, it's worse than hell. Where he currently is in a protective custody unit. So it's similar to a SHU, and he's being held there for evaluation. Until they can clear him psychologically, physically, emotionally, they're not going to put him into a general population environment. Even though he won't be in theoretical general population, he'll most likely be on what's called Unit 4H, which is where your high-profile inmates are. It is not a pleasant place to be. However, it is much better than the alternative, which would be a state facility, where Rikers, for a number of reasons.
And why is that?
When you're in a federal facility, you tend to not only get a better, and I use this term very generously, accommodations, but the food, the ability to access counsel, and also the nature of the prisoners tend to be a little bit different. Certainly when he leaves protective custody and gets into the floor he's going to, which is where Sean Combs is, Sam Bankman-Fried. I think there's 2 former politicians from the Mexican government. Once he gets there, he will not only be in a safer environment, he'll be allowed out of his cell, probably from 6 in the morning to 9 at night, barring counts. He'll get 3 regular meals, which tend to be much better than state meals. And overall, he will be certainly much safer in an open environment than having to require or need the protective custody of what he might need at a Rikers.
I also want to ask you, this case in particular, and we've talked about this on this show as well, just about the public support that we have seen for this man who is accused of killing Brian Thompson, and what that looks like on the internet, and just how high profile, not only high profile, but just how he has gotten so much public support from people. What does that mean, if anything, when you're inside this facility? Does he get letters or phone calls or anything like that, or it doesn't matter at all?
Well, certainly people could put money on his account for commissary and for emails. He'll get letters. He might get fan letters. Other than that, it makes him, in my opinion, much more vulnerable, much more susceptible to extortion, especially once, not so much where he currently is. This might be the safest part of his whole journey. If he is convicted of federal charges, which would certainly be better than the state charges in terms of prisons, he's going to have to figure out with his team where to go. Where will be the safest facility? Is he going to need psychological services? Or is he going to, depending upon his sentence, have to remain somewhere for life? And he will face inmates that are not fans of his, do not care about United Healthcare, usually care about one thing: what can you give me? How much money can your family send me? Or else. And it's a very scary predicament that he and his family have to be concerned with going forward. This will be, in my opinion, the safest part of his whole experience, being in Brooklyn, MDC.
Yeah, and I know, again, as I said at the top of this interview, you are advising his legal team. You've not been retained by them. Is that something you all have talked through, just his particular situation, in the fact that the public does know that he comes from a well-to-do family, things like that?
So I've spoken with his legal team. I've spoken with them on a number of occasions. I've also spoken with the legal staff at Brooklyn MDC as recently as yesterday to try to help arrange the legal visits for him, for his counsel. So I wanted to clarify that. I'm sure that they were blindsided the other day when they learned it was federal. So they're going to have to pivot and do whatever is necessary to deal with that charge. I'm sure that they were probably preparing for the state charges and a potential state incarceration. Federal is completely different, and it's something that I'm sure that they will be addressing as time goes forward.
All right, Sam Mangione, thank you so much for your insight on this. We appreciate it.
Moving on, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is the latest billionaire CEO to meet with the president-elect at Mar-a-Lago. Mr. Trump also recently met with the CEOs of TikTok, Netflix, Meta, Apple, and Google, and Mark Zuckerberg and others have even made massive donations to his inaugural fund. Here to discuss is O'Leary Ventures Chairman, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. Good morning, Kevin.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So a few hours after Donald Trump met with Jeff Bezos, he posted on Truth Social, "Everybody wants to be my friend." Do you think Jeff Bezos really wants to be Donald Trump's friend?
He certainly wants to be in sync with what Trump is thinking, because Trump, by every measure, has a majority mandate, and he's going to rule supreme for at least 2 years until the midterms. And that includes tech, that includes social media, which you've been talking about this morning. And all of these leaders, whether they like him or not, are going to suck up to him. And that's exactly what they're doing, because to be cut out of the circle of friendship is a diminished position if you're a technology leader, and you want to be in that circle of friendship with Trump right now, love him or hate him. And a lot of these CEOs bashed him pretty hard in his first mandate, so they've got a lot of sucking up to do.
And it feels new. Were these CEOs not sucking up to Joe Biden?
Biden really didn't take a position on tech. His administrators did. They beat it up pretty badly, and they were pretty not in support of innovation. They preferred regulation, and that's obvious because it's history. You don't have to debate it anymore. That was Khan and the rest of them. But with Trump, it seems.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, guys. I'm starting to learn this right here.
Moving on, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is the latest billionaire CEO to meet with the president-elect at Mar-a-Lago. Mr. Trump. Moving on, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is the latest billionaire CEO to meet with the president-elect at Mar-a-Lago. Mr. Trump also recently met with the CEOs of TikTok, Netflix, Meta.
With Trump, it seems more that the idea, and this really stems from something Doug Burgum said recently, the czar of energy, but it extends to every sector. He said he would rather innovate than regulate. And that gives the new tonality to the Trump administration. I think it's a good thing. I think America's always innovated its way out of trouble. We don't need to regulate ourselves into it, and that's what's happening now. We don't want to diminish our competition.
And as we see these CEOs, I spend a lot of time in West Palm Beach these days, just watching these motorcades go across the causeway. How would you rate the level of jealousy that these CEOs have of Elon Musk?
Well, Musk brings something to the table that many of them don't have. They've all been very successful. But Elon Musk is an extraordinary individual when it comes to executional skills. So when you hear him say he's going to implement cost savings in government, it's hard to find a place where he hasn't chosen a mandate and been successful at it. So I'm very interested in hearing what his recommendations would be about cutting costs. There's a lot of fat in government. Everybody knows that, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. So this is a very interesting role he's taken on. And I think it's going to yield some fruit. And I think some of these recommendations are going to be acknowledged by the president, who will give him executional ability to implement them. So I don't see anything wrong here. I don't care what side of the fence you're on, red or blue or independent. You know government is dripping with fat, and it's your tax money funding it.
And we hear all these Democrats now talking about how Elon Musk is a billionaire who's bending the ear of Donald Trump. He did get Trump to go to a SpaceX launch and support him there, but he still has not convinced Trump to get up early every day and post on X. That could come, though, at some point. Thank you, Kevin O'Leary.
Take care.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
No one seems to know this, but
Okay, guys. I'm lost right here. I had to switch back to OBS. This is Streamlabs. I had to switch back to OBS. This is Streamlabs. But let's see if we could do one or two more. Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is.
Well, a new Pentagon report says that China is rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal, nearly tripling it under the Biden administration. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, Eli Ratner, sounding the alarm over why China could be doing this.
Expansion of China's nuclear program raises the question of what are all these nuclear weapons for? And they haven't answered that question.
Why are they doing this? Well, Beijing's move comes as also as deepening ties with Russia while increasing pressure on Taiwan. Gordon Chang is here, Gatestone Institute senior fellow, author of the book, China is Going to War. Gordon, always good to see you. Do you think it is just that? Do you think that China is preparing to go to war, potentially over Taiwan or even perhaps with us?
Well, certainly, because we've seen all the preparations for it. Xi Jinping can't stop talking about going to war. He's also engaged in the fastest and the largest military buildup since the end of the Second World War. He's stockpiling grain and other commodities. He is trying to sanction-proof his regime. He's firing military officers who are opposed to going to war. He's mobilizing civilians, and he's surveying the U.S. for nuclear weapons strikes. We see all these Chinese incursions and attempted incursions into our military bases, especially in September when a Chinese national twice tried to sneak on to a U.S. nuclear weapons base in the lower 48 states. So it's clear what they want to do. Whether they will actually do it or not is a different question, but they're making preparations to kill Americans.
To kill Americans. Are we prepared for this?
No, we're not. The President of the United States, the one with the constitutional duty to protect Americans from foreign attacks, his number one constitutional duty. He doesn't talk to the American people about this. His budgets don't reflect priorities of getting us ready to go to war. And unfortunately, we have American people who think they're at peace. But yeah, we're at peace right now, but could be on the edge of conflict.
How will President-elect Trump differ than the current policy?
I don't know. We're going to find out. I think that we're going to see more money for the military. We're going to also see an emphasis on war-fighting capacity, as opposed to, for instance, DEI and other things that the Pentagon has been pushing. But we will see how he looks at this. And his first budget is going to tell us quite a lot about it.
If you were to advise President Trump, what would you say? What would you say to him in terms of what type of policies the U.S. should follow in order to try and blunt Beijing?
First thing is he needs to talk to the American people. He needs to talk to the American people about how dangerous the situation is. That's not really his style. But the other thing that I think he needs to do is to say to China, look, we will defend Taiwan. And if we do that, China will not attack because it doesn't want the casualties, even if they think that they can take the place. But again, that's not President Trump's style. And when asked the question during the campaign, he said, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do with regard to Taiwan. So these are questions which remain to be answered. The one good thing is that I think he will speed up arms sales to Taiwan, and that'll be a message to Beijing. But whether that's sufficient, I'm not sure.
And finally, what do you predict? How do we go down this road? And at what point does it become untenable? And what point is there a potential clash, if there ever is one?
The problem is the world's falling apart. We've got all of these wars around the world. China's involved in 3 proxy wars right now: Ukraine, North Africa, and the Middle East, and is threatening to go to war. One thing we know, Xi Jinping may not have made the decision to go to war yet, but he's made the decision to risk war. He's made the decision to risk war with a U.S. treaty ally, which means he's already made the decision that he's prepared to attack the United States. So we have got to get that message across to the American public, and especially to the Pentagon, which thinks it's at peacetime. There's no sense of urgency that is really necessary to meet the Chinese challenge right now.
Gordon Chang with a chilling warning that China is prepared to attack the United States and kill Americans. a major obstacle and a major challenge for the incoming Trump administration. Gordon, senior fellow at
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy, Genesis. What do you think is happening here with China loading up on nuclear? Do all this stuff. What do you think is going on, guys? They better not be trying to attack nothing, because Jesus. What is this? We don't want this, man. We don't want this at all. No. Hell no. Come on, man. Peace is what we want. But of course, we want the 47th president-elect, the legendary Donald J. Trump. When it comes back in here, adults are back in the White House. Adults are back in the White House. So China better know. You can't play with the United States. You can never play with the United States, because we're not going to let you play with us. Okay. The 45th and now the 47th president-elect. He's never going to let that happen. This is why people voted for him, because they believe he is smart, brave, and can actually handle tough situations. Everybody's going to Mar-a-Lago right now.
To get to after a whole week of drama on Capitol Hill, the House and the Senate finally got it together and passed the third version of the funding bill, keeping the lights on in Washington, D.C. So what is in this funding deal that passed last night and is going to the president for him to sign it today? It funds the government through March 14th, 2025. It also includes roughly $100 billion in disaster relief and also includes a farm bill extension. What it does not include is the debt ceiling suspension that President-elect Trump was hoping for.
And there were reports last night that the president-elect is really steamed. The debt limit did not either get extended or canceled altogether because they would rather, the transition put something out the other day, increasing the debt ceiling, not great, but we would rather do it on Biden's watch. It's going to be a lot easier for him to do things like extend the tax cuts when he gets in if the Democrats are not, as Elizabeth Warren would say, hostage taking over the debt limit. But Elizabeth Warren is with Trump on this. It could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen.
It could indeed, but what's so significant about this past week is you and I were covering the Mar-a-Lago Trump transition all week long, was that we were clearly headed for an easy passage of that first version of the continuing resolution. And then you saw first Elon Musk weighing in saying, hang on.
This thing is huge.
And then President-elect Trump fully weighed in saying, this is not why I got elected. This is not what Americans want. They don't want these, as Trump says, Democrat giveaways in this 1,500 plus bill. And now you've gotten exactly what should have been the first option, which is a skinny bill, just get us to March. And then obviously he wanted the debt ceiling and you didn't get it. You've got members of Congress, though, like Andy Harris, conservative, weighing in on exactly putting into perspective what happened. Here's some of what he said.
Yeah, he posted this on X. Since President Trump's historic election to bring down spending, deficits, and inflation, the, quote, Republican-led House has initiated $300 billion in unpaid for new spending without even attempting offsets to prevent skyrocketing the deficit and debt. Future generations deserve better. I am now undecided on what House leadership should look like in the 119th Congress. Just want to get the numbers out there. 11 Senate Republicans and 34 House Republicans voted no. Democrats, by and large, were all in favor of supporting this.
And to his point about how now these House Republicans won't commit to what the leadership should be next time, Mike Johnson did the thing that Kevin McCarthy did that got him ousted. He pushed forward a spending bill with Democratic votes. That could be a fatal flaw. And I know that this is something, it happens every Christmas, except like one in the last 15 years. But there is a reason that this is different. The president-elect, the incoming president, is negotiating spending bills and then making the current president sign them.
Oh, and it's so true. And where has President Biden been throughout all of this? I was thinking yesterday that he was going to be up late at night because this passed in the House at 5:30, that it was going to go over to the Senate. They would have it for several hours, and then he was going to have to sign it into law right after it passed. But then the White House released a statement and said, he'll get to it in the morning. Are you kidding me?
And I think Harris's last point there about what House leadership looks like, while we're talking about this and the country feels like, oh, great, we're not going to have a shutdown, on January 3rd, as soon as the House comes back after the new year, the first thing they're going to deal with is whether or not to reelect Mike Johnson as Speaker again. And there's obviously some unhappy folks. However, in the last hour, we had Congressman Carlos Jimenez from Florida saying, to your question, Peter, that Speaker Johnson is the right man for the job. Here's what he said.
I'm going to be supporting Mike Johnson. Look, these are the cards that are dealt. If we had sufficient Republicans to pass some bills, we wouldn't need any Democrats, unfortunately. We can't seem to agree with each other. We had like 30 Republicans that did not vote for this bill. We only have like a 2 or 3 seat majority. And so when that happens and you have to get something done, and then all of a sudden you got to look over, oh, gee whiz, we have to pick up some Democrat votes, then the final bill isn't what we would like, because we have to actually pick up some Democrat votes. And so it actually works against us. And so, yeah, I don't think so. These are the cards that are dealt. What we've learned from ousting Kevin McCarthy was that he was playing those cards about as well as anybody could, and Speaker Johnson's playing those cards about as well as anybody can.
Yeah, and being the House Speaker is just one of the hardest jobs on Capitol Hill. And even after the vote passed out of the House, he was interviewed, and he said that he spoke to the president-elect and he spoke to Elon Musk, and they're both pleased with the passing of this bill. And he joked that when he talked to Elon Musk, he's like, do you want to be Speaker? You know, just a joke, being like, this stuff is hard.
As we have learned over the last few weeks, Mike Johnson, it doesn't matter what anybody says. Mike Johnson is one Truth Social post away from
it's so true. Yeah, Republicans have a majority of just 4 seats when the next congressional term starts, 219 to 215. And 2 Republicans, Congressman Paul Gosar and Thomas Massie, have already said that they won't back him. I mean, we remember what the vote count looked like when Kevin McCarthy was going through this, where you have all the numbers on the side of the screen and you just watch and see who's going to vote how and what the fate of the Speaker of the House will be. That's what we're going to go through again in January. And, you know, Mike Johnson's getting a lot of criticism right now, but he was just doing his job. I mean, his job, he's got a huge body in Congress with everybody having different wants and needs, and he's got to wrangle it all with a very slim majority. So if Republicans wanted farm aid and they wanted some disaster relief, he's going to have to cut a deal with Democrats. And he was just trying to get it all through, and it ballooned in size. But they got it down, and they got it passed.
But we're not done hearing the last of President-elect Trump's frustration with working with the Democrats, because remember, his initial criticism was, we're not going to negotiate with the Democrats. We're going to do it our way. And there's no doubt that Washington is now Trump's town. And that's what Speaker Johnson's going to have to deal with. He just impacted it. And what you know, the other thing that's so fascinating, because I keep saying this, but Peter and I were covering the transition this week. When I was in Mar-a-Lago all week, literally the CEO of TikTok, Jeff Bezos, before that you had Zuckerberg, all of Silicon Valley's most powerful. Look, the center of the economic universe no longer runs through Wall Street or Silicon Valley. It's running through Mar-a-Lago right now. And any better example of how that's panning out, look at the donations to the inaugural committee. A lot of it coming from people like Zuckerberg that are cutting the $1 million checks.
Yeah, a lot of these rich guys that are going down to Palm Beach are writing big checks for the inauguration. So far, $200 million for this January 20th event. They're on track for 225. They are already at a record, beating Trump.
Oh my goodness, my mic was off. Yeah, Lord Jesus. Okay, yeah. BS happens. Okay, so here we go. I was saying that this guy has raised way more money than Biden. Just take a look at the difference. Take a look at the difference. Take a look at the difference. Trump now has everybody kissing his ring Everybody wants to be his friend. Everybody wants to be a partner. Everybody would just want to be around him. Everybody's going to Mar-a-Lago, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Well, Instagram and Facebook are the same. And it's like everybody wants to be the next Elon Musk because Elon saw this coming and he was going for him. He actually supported Trump, and now look at Trump. Trump is all the way up. He's the 47th president of the United States. Everybody loves him. Most people, some love him, some people don't, but most people do because he won the majority vote, the popular vote, the electoral college, and he also won all swing states. So that is a testament that he is even more popular than he used to be, and everything he went through from assassination attempt to losing the election in 2020. This just helps him, propels him. This propels him to being a better leader because now everybody's going to Mar-a-Lago. Everybody's going to him. Even Justin Trudeau of Canada had to go to Mar-a-Lago. And Trump is already like trolling him saying Canada is going to be the 51st state. And that just takes balls. That takes legendary status. That takes guts. And Trump has just proven that if you do not quit, if you keep going, if you keep fighting for yourself, for your dream, for your family, for what you believe in, for your ideas and ideologies, you would never fail, no matter what happens to you. Keep fighting. And this is why he inspires me. There's no cap. Trump definitely inspires me because he's proven that anything is possible coming from. He was losing, basically. He was losing in like 2018, 19, 20. Actually, from 22, 23, 24, because while Joe Biden was in power, he was pumping the media with BS to make sure his name was tainted, to make sure his reputation was effed up. Yet, Trump's reputation still rose because he went, like, Joe Biden made sure the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. It's like the first president in the modern century for FBI to go raid his house. That alone is like going to mess up your image. But instead, the American people saw it and be like, this is BS. And why would you be going after somebody like that? He is a former president. That's why now they've made him the current 47th president-elect. And this next 4 years is going to really show what Trump is about. And if he wants to really prove himself, everything he campaigned upon during the campaign trail, during the roundtable conversation, during the elections, he should make it happen. And if he does make it happen, which I predict he will make it happen, from safeguarding the border, from making sure the Ukraine-Russia war evaporates, from making sure the Israel and Palestinian people comes to peace. He prides himself on being a man of his words, and I believe he's going to make it happen. And also reducing inflation. Mortgage rate is all the way up right now. So if you can all of these things and also cap credit card interest rate at 10%, like he said he was going to do, also like slash the electricity bill by 50% in the first 365 days. He promised that on the campaign trail. So he has promised a lot. He would have to back it up with actions. So the Republican Party in Congress needs to get in line, support him, and let's get it.
Trump's first one, which was 107 million. Biden, 62 million. That was a COVID
year. And did you say this number? The Trump people think that the number will increase to 225 million. The target was 150 million. What this money is used for is essentially what they call inaugural events. But I think that these donations are just, it's a sign of people saying, we are excited about the incoming president. We have hope for the future. And there's a new Fox News poll that shows that 55% of people say that they are hopeful for the country's future today, as opposed to 45% who say no. That number was 53% said yes around the midterm elections, right after the midterm elections in 2022, and 43% said that they had hope for the future a year into Joe Biden's term.
And you look, this is how you get Trump. After a year almost of Biden, 43%, it's up 12 points now with Trump coming back in.
Yeah, look at that. 64% of people say that 2024 was a bad year for the country.
And then you've got a bad year for their family. 40% said it was a good year. 50%, half the country thinks that this was a bad year.
And, if you could go back to that original graph, I hate to upset the producers, but really you saw from December 2021 to now, the numbers are literally flipped. When you talk about a direction of a country and how the country feels, you can see a literal flip in the opinions. 43 yes, 54 no, and 21. 55, 45 now. That's a significant shift.
Yeah, and it's just so clear. I mean, Donald Trump didn't just win the Electoral College. He also won the popular vote. And we were talking to people all across the country after the election. You just felt it. And he received votes from people who had never voted Republican before, because he was talking about what he called on the campaign trail common sense issues when it comes to the economy, when it comes to the border, crime, education. It's such a stark contrast to the threats to democracy on the other side and all the cultural, social things that have really passed when people about what people care about now. So people say that they're hopeful for the next 4 years, and it's evident in the polling and also the donations that Trump is getting as well.
And there was something really interesting to your point. Two of the Trump campaign managers just did an interview with Politico. They ran 1/3 fewer issue-based digital or TV ads than the Harris people ran. So what we are coming to see now is that the Harris people just never figured out what the point was.
Right, exactly. And according to the latest Wall Street Journal reporting, Joe Biden in office for 4 years was struggling the entire time was very much sheltered by the staffers who were trying to basically be the president.
And the reporters that were trying to talk to him.
That's right.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm
Thank you for tuning into the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy, Genesis. Everybody is just trying to get a piece of Trump right now because he is so popular, so effective. He's proven to the United States that no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, color, creed, background, all of that stuff, what matters is your determination. And he's proven it. So it's over, man. It's over. Now politicians would have to come with substance. If you don't come out with substance, if you don't come out with legit concrete agenda, you're not going to be anything. So with that being said, the OG, the 45th, now the 47th president-elect, has changed the landmark in politics right
Cenk,
now.
welcome.
Check this out.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Turning point.
So, Cenk, the spirit of inviting you is that there's some confusion of these divides of right versus left, populist versus corporatist. I guess a good opening would be, as a man in the progressive movement, as one of the leaders of the progressive movement, what do you make of this last year, the state of the Democrat Party, and kind of American politics from the more progressive left perspective? Yeah. So, first of all, I'm proud to represent the left flank of the populist movement, and I think we need both flanks, so I'm happy to have this conversation. In terms of what has gone wrong in the Democratic Party, it's the same thing that went wrong in the Republican Party, but I do have to give you guys credit for a revolution well done. And what I mean by that is not a revolution against the Democratic Party or the left or the country, but a revolution against the establishment. So I knew you guys were for real in fighting against the establishment when I started going on right-wing shows and I would say something negative about Mitch McConnell. And when I did that in the past, what I would get back is, oh, no, Mitch McConnell's great. Pelosi's terrible, but Mitch McConnell's great. Let's do that here. What do you guys think of Mitch McConnell? All right. Yes, I love that. So, look, for my left-wing friends that are watching out there,
they just booed Mitch McConnell. That's a great thing, okay? And let's do one more. What do you guys think about Dick Cheney? My left-wing friends out there, we have been waiting for the right-wing populists to boo Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney our whole lives. Take the win. Take the win. Now, what we need to do in the Democratic Party is we need to do likewise. We need to have a revolt against the Joe Bidens, the Kamala Harrises, and the Nancy Pelosi's. And the Hillary Clintons, and now all of a sudden the Dick Cheneys. What are they doing on our side? Are you guys nuts? Right?
I have to interject. When all of a sudden Kamala Harris is doing the Liz Cheney thing, I said, does she want to lose? I mean,
what's amazing is I said the same thing. Look, Dick Cheney polls at 13%. What lunatic thought it was a good idea to wrap yourself around Dick Cheney? I mean, when we started the Young Turks 22 years ago, longest running show in internet history, first ever YouTube partner with original YouTubers, one of the driving forces was get Dick Cheney out of office, right? And now for Kamala Harris to come full circle and say, oh, I've got 90 corporate CEOs backing me, and I've got all these executives on my side, and I've got Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney on my side, was so counterproductive. It's not what the left wing stands for. It's not what the Democratic Party should be about. So the problem is the establishment. They are controlled by the donor class, and mainstream media is their marketing arm. They do not do news. They do propaganda. And one more thing. What I want you guys to recognize is that mainstream media you think is against you. You think they're against the right wing. But they also hate Bernie Sanders. And they also hate me. And they also hate the populists on the left. What mainstream media really loves is the establishment and the elites. They're against all of us combined. And if we dare unite on issues we agree on, they will be livid, and it'll be a beautiful day in America.
And that is correct. I mean, you were kicked off of some of the cable news channels for having heterodox opinions on certain issues. So let's kind of look at the last couple of years. We can go back to the Bernie Sanders thing. Explain to us, why is it that right-wing revolution was successful, and the Bernie Sanders with 2 attempts actually won the primary in 2016, and he had it stolen. Again, stolen election talk can be a little controversial. They stole it from Bernie Sanders in 2016. Why was that revolution not successful?
Yeah, I think it was because Donald Trump was a celebrity and they didn't take him seriously. So they made the mistake of giving him mainstream media coverage. And so they thought, and if you remember, Bill Clinton had this brilliant idea, we'll encourage Donald Trump to run on the Republican side and it'll destroy the Republican Party. How'd that work out for you, Bill? And so I remember saying at the time, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Because what I sensed was you need a non-politician to lead the revolt. So, because all the politicians, and right now they're having a conversation on the Democratic side of 28, and the only people they mention are politicians. And my answer to that is, hell no. Okay? Because the politicians are used to the corruption. They grew up in the corruption. They like the corruption. They got their power through the corruption. So I don't want that. I don't need that. And so when Trump came on, they gave him coverage. And here's when look, some people think that things changed after the election. No, I've been saying this from day one. And so back in 2016, actually 2015, after I think it was the second debate, when Trump was on stage and he said, I gave all these guys money and they did exactly what I wanted. At that point, everyone on earth, certainly in the establishment and mainstream media, says he has no chance of winning, none. I went on the Young Turks and I said, he's going to win the Republican primary, okay? Because people hate corruption, and they know it in their bones, okay? Now, we will disagree on, is Trump really not corrupt? Is Trump really going to do the things that he promised? Is he really a populist? I would love to prove me wrong. I would love that, okay? And like, my God, if Trump got money out of politics, one thing we're known for is credit where credit is due, okay? I would give him all the credit in the world. We're not there yet. We're not close to there yet. So when we get into the issues, hey, how about, and remember, guys, you also have donors. Beware of the donors. Don't forget that, and don't let your guard down, okay? But so on the Democratic side, we have got to elect a populist. If we don't, we're going to make the same mistake we made when they anointed Hillary Clinton, when they anointed Joe Biden, and when they anointed Kamala Harris. So my Democratic friends, how many times are you going to lose before you realize that mainstream media and the establishment are lying to you?
And so is that energy forefront in the Democrat Party right now? And I'm not saying this facetiously. Read us into what the power brokers of the Democrat Party are saying. Are they saying we need to run more to the middle, that we need to embrace more populism? We're hearing some of the names, but what is the vibe of the people that do this for a living?
Yeah, so I can tell you definitively that the Democratic leadership and the Democratic establishment will never voluntarily go in a new direction. They will never voluntarily accept populism. They are built on donor money. They are of the donors, by the donors, for the donors. So what I need left-wing voters to understand is that they're never going to give you what you want incrementally. Martin Luther King talked about the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Oh, if we just go a little further with Joe Biden, he'll give us another crumble and another tiny increment. No, they're going to just pick a new and improved corporate robot like Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom, and they're going to come out with a new script, and they're going to say, I am now a populist, and they will wear flannel shirts, and they'll go to bar ribs, and then they'll sneak out and go to French Laundry, right? So don't believe the corporate robots. Remember how many times they lied to you. We need to do a populist revolt and pick a populist left-winger so we can have a real contest in this country. The establishment Democrats are never going to win. We need to go populist, and the way to do that is not by negotiating with them, it's by defeating them in a primary.
Is the Democrat grassroots, are they invigorated towards that end? Because it seemed as if they weren't obviously thrilled about Biden or Kamala Harris. But you could say whatever you want about Bernie Sanders. I have massive worldview disagreements. He had a legitimate grassroots movement behind him of small dollar donors, of people that were working, of activists. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like that has disappeared a little bit in recent years, or at least has gone to sleep. Am I correct in that? And what would it take to awaken that sleeping giant?
So there's a couple of different branches within the Democratic Party and the left, but the two most important ones are the populist progressive left, that's Bernie Sanders, and we can debate about progressive issues and policies on another day, right? But then there's the establishment wing. So the populist wing is already there. That base that was there in 2016 and 2020 still exists. And remember, guys, and I say this to you and I say it to the left wing, Bernie won the first 3 states in 2020. He was this close to winning until Obama and Clyburn called in all the candidates and said, you all have to bow to Joe Biden. And then mainstream media then said, Joe Biden is the greatest. And they started talking about how Bernie Sanders, the most successful Jewish candidate in American history, had followers who wore brown shirts and fascists and Nazis. Where have you heard that before? So whenever it's an outsider, all of a sudden mainstream media says fascist, even if it's a Jewish candidate. Right? So they use the same tricks. And you guys have been canceled. I've been canceled. They do the same thing to both of us over and over again. So the left-wing populists are ready, but we do need some more votes from people who used to be in the establishment Democratic camp. And why were they in that camp? Because they love corruption, they love war, they love change? No, guys. They were in that camp because mainstream media lied to them. And mainstream media told them, oh, Bernie can't win. Bernie was up by 12 points on Election Day in 2016. They said, he's radical. And they called you guys radical and said you couldn't win. They call us radical and say we can't win. But They're wrong. They're lying. So what I need Democrats to understand is stop believing in Morning Joe and The View and all the garbage on TV.
So that's a really good point about the media ecosystem. You guys are, without a doubt, the most popular, progressive, over-the-top, non-mainstream media sanctioned community. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 27 million subscribers, 30 billion views. I think it's fair to say.
No, I'm not saying that sarcastically. I don't know of anyone that comes close. However, do you think there's a robust alternative media ecosystem on the left that is comparable to what's built on the right? I could say confidently what we have on the right is pretty impressive. We have from podcasting to videos. We don't rely on cable television. Who here listens to podcasts or social media for all your news? Raise your hand. I mean, every single hand goes up. So do you think the left has some work to do in developing over-the-top media to be able to bypass the main networks?
Yeah, so we have TYT as a giant network, but we have a lot of great progressive and populist shows that are not part of TYT, that's in the left-wing ecosystem. So I don't think that that's the issue. I don't think that there isn't enough shows. I think that there's a couple others. One, on the right, you guys do a great job of coalescing, okay? So you do a couple of things well. You work together well, and you're more welcoming, if I'm being honest.
We're glad Cenk's here, right, everybody?
And a lot of people on the left know this as well. If you agree with MAGA 5%, the answer you get is welcome, right? Come join us, right? On the left, if you disagree 5%, they go, get out of here, you're a right-winger, you're a fascist, right? But if you push enough people out and you guys welcome enough people in, eventually you win the popular vote. That's what I warned them about, and that's what happened, right? So, look, I propose simple rules, the 3 rules of the internet. Rule number 1, when we disagree, we fight. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Now, rule number 2 is afterwards we must have a beer together, okay? And rule number 3 is, for God's sake, when we agree, let's unite. So, for the left, we have too much division. We almost never unify. I don't mean with the right. I mean internally. The left loves to attack one another. I love you guys on the left. I love you. But every once in a while, when we get a yes, when we agree, can we please unite? And the second thing we need is for the old, I'm being honest, and on average, not everyone, of course, but for the older Democratic voters, please turn off your television sets. They're lying to you. They're tricking you. They're trying to get you to vote for corruption. They're trying to get you to vote for policies you don't even want. So if we can do those 2 things, then we'll be in great shape.
So I'm not sure how you'll feel about this, but there is a not a consensus. There is a belief with some people like Seth Moulton and others that some of the embrace of what we would call wokeism or whatever was a reason why Democrats had a less than desirable election outcome. Do you subscribe to that belief? How do you interpret that when some people say we need to kind of shed away some of the more new elements of the cultural implications of politics outside of economics, like the Seth Moulton belief that where he says the trans stuff hurt us?
Yeah, so look, guys, on that stuff, I've been having these debates internally with the left wing. And I explained yesterday, actually, on the Young Turks. Look, everybody's positions are in a different part of the left-right spectrum and on different policies. So I can name you policies where you say, oh, that's pretty moderate, right? I can name you policies that, I mean, you're not sure it's left or right wing, but that is definitely populist, right? But some of my policies might be called extreme left in America. So, for example, I'm massively in favor of gun control. You told them not to move, but I knew they'd boo on that one.
They paused to their respect. You were asking for it, Cenk.
Yeah, I did ask for it. So my point to my left-wing allies is, am I going to emphasize and insist and demand on my gun control policies when we're in the middle of a national election? No, because I know those are not winning issues at this point. I've got more work to do to convince the American people before we get there. So if on trans issues or any other, or crime issues, etc., if you really believe in the most far left positions, as I do on gun control, for example, that's okay. But you've got to know what to emphasize and what not to emphasize. And so if you say, no, I'm going to die on every extreme hill, well, you will. Electorally, politically, you will die on that hill. And then you lose on all of your issues, because it's sometimes a binary game. Certainly elections are. So you got to know what to convince the American people of and what to hold your ground on. And the number one thing to hold your ground on is constitutional rights. So I'm going to do some...
Like the Second Amendment.
So, no, I know. So, guys, look at that. We totally disagree on that issue, but we just...
You were asking for that one, I'm sorry.
No problem. No, but look, but that was an important moment, because we totally disagree on that issue, but we just shook hands anyway. And you know what we'll do afterwards? We'll have a beer! So, you know what it is when you disagree on something and then you fight about it and then you have a beer afterwards? That's called America. So let me see if I can get agreement, and I don't know which way this is going to go, okay? So when we talk about trans issues in terms of sports, I know we have massive disagreements, okay? And on one of those issues, professional sports, I agree with you guys. On high school sports, I don't. We'll go get into a bloody battle on that, okay? But I want to ask you guys something. Do you believe that trans Americans should have the same constitutional rights as all Americans to employment, health care, and housing? Constitutional rights.
Do you want me to translate? Well, there is no constitutional right to housing.
Okay, so I hear you. What I got out of that, guys...
I'm just trying to be the interpreter.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of applause and there was some consternation, right? I'll take it. It's a start. So, guys, when we can even disagree about what's constitutional, Second Amendment, housing, etc. But just let's treat everyone as Americans. And I say that to the right and I say it to the left.
For sure. So we're going to go a little overtime because I know the boss here. And there's two things. I want to ask about free speech, and then I want to try to say, can we get one or two action items that this community can get behind in this new Congress and this presidency that are populist that maybe we can push for and advocate for? Now, I want to try to maybe see if we could brainstorm that together. Number one, first on free speech. Do you think that the left, and you are an exception, is ready to embrace a robust, spirited culture of freedom of speech where disagreement is welcome, where you're able to have these kind of dialogues and forums? And I think it's a tragedy, it seems to be, that more the right is willing to do it. Prove me wrong if that really is the case.
Yeah, I'm trying to remind the left of who we are, because the left is supposed to be for freedom of speech. The left needs freedom. If you're gay or you're trans or you're Muslim or you're someone that was otherized at some point in your life, you need freedom more than anyone else does. You need equality more than anyone else does. You need justice more than anyone else does. So if you want those things, you've got to reciprocate. So you've got to not, I want you guys to not assume that we hate you or that we're evil or that we're bad. But if we're going to do that, the left wing has to do the same. They have to assume that you're not evil, that you don't hate them, and you're not all of these things. So I know from time to time we'll still get back into the battles and we'll still call each other names, right? But overall, if we can begin to not hate each other, and so when we disagree, let's try two more real quick here. When we disagree, can we agree to not hate each other? All right, excellent. And when we have these fights, to Charlie's point, can we, for the first time in my lifetime, begin to actually listen to one another? And Charlie, I'll give you credit on this, because one of the turning points, if you will, in how I started to view the right wing is when you came on the Young Turks at the RNC, and we started talking about banning private equity from buying residential real estate.
Which I totally agree with. That the young people in this audience should not have to compete against BlackRock to be able to own a home. Do you guys agree?
So we've got a populist plank on tyt.com that's one of the 6 pillars, right? And all my life, I go on Republican shows, I go on right-wing shows. When I say something against the bankers, they're like, no, the bankers are great, the bankers are great. Oh, I was so frustrated. And now, all of a sudden, we got the right-wing populists saying, let's ban the bankers from buying our homes so they don't drive up the prices. Yes, yes. The left, take yes for an answer. Take yes for an answer. And look, what I said online on X was, at least what we got out of this election is we're no longer in an establishment prison. Now we're in the populist woods, right? And if you say, yeah, but we're going to fight in the populist woods, yes, but at least we're all human out here. We defeated the corporate robots, and we've got more fights with the corporate robots to come. But out here in the woods, when I see you guys, I don't hate you anymore, right? I see my fellow Americans. And so in these populist woods, we'll sometimes have skirmishes, sometimes we'll have battles. But the main thing I'm trying to drive with the 6 points of the populist plank, higher wages for Americans, time off for moms after they have a baby, anti-corruption,
totally
anti-war. The reason
audit the Pentagon.
Oh, yes. So the reason I picked those is not because they're the most left-wing positions, because those are the positions we all agree on, right? And God help the establishment if we actually work together to do those things. And finally, to the heart of your question, Charlie, I proposed on X, cut the Pentagon, make sure the generals cannot work for the military-industrial complex afterwards, and free Edward Snowden.
Oh, I agree.
So it's beautiful that we have populist agreement on the right and the left on those issues. So I'm asking you guys, let's make those a reality. Because right now, a lot of my friends on the left don't believe you. They think, no, they can't possibly be telling the truth, right? No way they're going to cut the Pentagon. No way they're going to have a conflict of interest rule for the generals. No way they're going to do any of this, right? Prove them wrong. Prove them that you are actual populists, that you do mean it, and that we can work together to get those things done.
Cenk, thank you so much. Guys, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the live stream. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Yes, we are going to be checking out Turning Point. We have some couple of videos I want us to look at, and also probably later we're going to talk about it. But thank you for tuning in. And usually we're always streaming on the vertical stream, so we have a lot of viewers on the vertical stream. But now we're going to do horizontal because we've figured out that the horizontal stream goes a long way on the item. So let's stick to horizontal. Let's check out Trump right here.
They had me the other day. I was imitating Biden because he can't walk off a stage, right? No, he can never find the exit. So they have me turning around and looking for them.
This dude.
I mean, these stages have a lot of stairs on them. Some of them have 4 or 5 stairs, and he did. He had like so many stairs, he couldn't find it. And they showed me that I couldn't find the way off the stage. In other words, they said he couldn't find the way off the stage. And it's just terrible. They're so bad. You guys are so dishonest. You're so pathetic. That's why they're all going out of business, I'll tell you. They are just so pathetic. And you know, it's so important. Having an honest media is so important, but they just aren't. And it's a lot of times what they don't say. It's not only what they say, it's what they don't say. But so I have to be very careful with sarcasm because I'm a little sarcastic sometimes. And you say, you know, so he walks off a stage, so he finishes his thing.
Yeah.
Oh, he always goes. So I'm imitating him. And they said, Donald Trump should not be talking about Joe Biden can't finding his way because he could not find his way off the stage. Let me tell you, these stages have, in fact, this is the worst stage I've ever seen. It actually, Joe, come on, your budget. It's Joe's budget. I don't see stairs on this side. But usually, I don't see stairs. Oh, good. Okay. It's a very interesting little question. But we could jump down. He wouldn't be able to get down. I can jump down, I promise you. But so they put on
I could jump down, I promise.
I'm doing the little thing, and it's fun. But it's always dangerous. I tell people, it's always dangerous to do that. I imitate his speaking sometimes, and then they put it on. Have you heard Trump speaking? They put me on imitating. They are the worst. They're the most dishonest people. And we need an honest press. We need strong borders, and we need good elections. We need paper ballots. You know, today you have watermark paper. It was a step too far for me. I don't even talk about it much. But I took on the communist government, the Chinese government, and we had the government of China. And I must tell you, I had a great relationship with President Xi until we came in, until I heard about COVID, which was really, I always called it the China virus because I like accuracy. They weren't happy with that. But don't we like accuracy? And until then, I had a great relationship with him. He's a very smart guy, very strong leader. Can you imagine him dealing with Biden? It's just the whole thing is so crazy. He probably thinks it's a setup. You know, when he meets with Biden, Biden leaves. Well, where? Bye. And he leaves. You know, when I do that, it's very dangerous for me because they're so dishonest. Like sometimes I'll walk back, I'll imitate Biden, and I'll walk like into that wall of sorts. And they'll show me on television, they'll say, see, Trump couldn't find the exit to the stage. And I do an imitation of it. I say, thank you. Thank you very much. And you ever notice the way he points? He goes, but that usually means he wants to go that way. And then I'll turn around. And then Secret Service, by the way, Secret Service, they're unbelievable. The shit they have to put up with. But Secret Services, and then you'll see this handsome, beautiful Secret Service guy coming. You say, why the hell isn't he president? That's it, right? You see this handsome, and they always grab him, right? They catch him and they, walk him off the stage. This is our president. We got a beauty. But I gave the farmers $1 billion. All you need is one stair. But for Biden, you need many. But when I imitate him with the stairs, because he never can find his way. If you ever see Secret Service runs up and grabs him and, helps him off the stage. This is what we have negotiating nuclear weapons. So he finishes his speech. And do you ever notice? He finishes it. The speeches last about, would you say, average 2-3 minutes, right? Very quick. They're very quick and not good. Not good. But the press gives him good marks. I remember when he made such a bad State of the Union speech. Everything was stumbling, mumbling. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. And I said, I'm going to watch CNN, MSDNC to find out what they say, because that was one of the worst speeches. They said, not since FDR has there been a speech so magnificently delivered. I'm telling you, I've never, ever forgotten it. Not since FDR. I said, it's impossible. They're fake. They're terrible. But you know what? When he goes, and he always points, he goes like this. Thank you. Where am I? Thank you. And then he goes. And he points. You ever notice? And it's always he ends up going in the opposite direction ultimately. But he goes. And then.
Yeah.
Sometimes he trips over them. And then we don't.
This guy right.
But if there's a wall behind him, he ends up walking into the wall. And then one of these incredible guys from Secret Service, all these beautiful guys, they run up stage. Look at these guys, like central casting, right? They'll run up stage, they'll grab them, and they're not meant to smile. You know, they're very hard line. When I tell stories, they're like this. I guess they're trained that way. They never smile. You say, good morning. Well, sure. They actually turn away. It's good. This way you don't have to say good morning all the time, okay? No, they train them this way. But so one of these guys will run up and grab them and take them off the stage. This is what we have as our president. But the worst thing is when I do that, the fake news. I call up my wife, our great first lady. She was a great first. People love her. Yeah, people love her. Oh, look at that. Wow. Mercedes, that's pretty good. Yeah, she's good. And she loves our country and she loves the people. It's true. When I give these big rallies, we give rallies, they say, we love our First Lady. They have signs, we love her. They always show a high heel, you know. But we love our First Lady. But I call up our First Lady, I say, so baby, how good was that? She goes, you were okay. She's a very tough critic. I'll go into a group, I'll speak in front of 55, 56, 68,000 people sometimes. I'll call her up, I'll say, how good was I tonight? Was that unbelievable? She goes, well, your hair didn't look good. Oh, that's not good. But it's very hard to get like, you know, once in a while she goes, you were really good tonight, but that's like a major. But I said, in this case, I said, how good was that tonight? She said, you were really good tonight, but what happened? You couldn't find your way off the stage. Because the fake news said Donald Trump couldn't find his way off the stage. I said, wow. Or when I interject a name, like I go, our president, Barack Hussein Obama. Rush Limbaugh, remember? He would always, right, Seb? Rush would go, Barack Hussein. You couldn't hear Barack or Obama, but the name Hussein, he'd be screaming. I don't know exactly what he meant by that. I think I do. But he'd go, Barack Hussein. So I'd go, Barack Hussein Obama, our president, has done this. Now, I meant that because there are those people that say he's running our country because Joe is not strong on aptitude. So there are those. We don't know that.
Joe is not strong on aptitude.
But they go out and they say, Donald Trump, headline. Donald Trump doesn't know who the president of our country. He thinks Obama's the president, Lou. Look at the great Lou Dobbs. He thinks Obama is the president. So when I'm sarcastic, because I'm sort of a sarcastic guy, I find humor in sarcasm, but it's very dangerous to do because they take it very seriously. But it's a very serious subject because of what happened. To finish the first story, what happened? Hey, by the way, isn't this better than reading off a frickin' teleprompter? Right? Right? Anybody can do that except for Biden. Together we will turn the page forever on the miserable nightmare of the Biden presidency. What a presidency, what a president. Most incompetent president we've ever had. The worst president, the most incompetent, and the most corrupt. Other than that, I think he's doing actually quite a good job. And we will make America great again. Two nights ago, we all heard Crooked Joe's angry, dark, hate-filled rant of a State of the Union address. Didn't it bring us together? Remember, he said, I'm going to bring the country together. I'm going to bring it together. No. He's a threat to democracy. I will tell you, he's a threat to democracy. Weaponize government, weaponize the FBI, weaponize the DOJ. He's a threat to democracy for other reasons also. Number one, he's grossly incompetent. Joe Biden gave the most divisive, partisan, radical, and extreme speech ever delivered by a president in that chamber. Not even close. Rather than trying to bring our country together, he tried to cling to power by tearing our country apart. He's done nothing. You know what their whole thing is going to be? Go after Trump. Go after. We have no policy. We didn't do anything. Everything we did turned out so badly. Go after Trump. And we're ready for it. Are we ready? We're ready. Crooked Joe Biden talked about Ukraine before he talked about America. He talked about the size of a Snickers bar. You know, it's probably true about Snickers. They throw a little bit less in. I'd probably do the same thing if I owned that particular company. But can I be honest with you? Who the hell cares about? That's not what the problem is. That's not what the problem is. That's not what you don't talk about Snickers. You talk about inflation, big league inflation, not that kind of stuff. You talk about the fact that we're no longer energy independent. We're going to be energy dominant. You talk about bigger things. We talk about the whole country as opposed to the kind of things he talked. I think he took 41 minutes before he got to the border, and then he covered it almost not at all. The border is the biggest problem. I think it's one of the biggest problems, the greatest threat to the history of our country. So it took him 41 minutes, and then he announced a plan to send our brave U.S. military men and women into Gaza to resupply the terrorists of Hamas. You know what's going to happen. He wants to build billions and billions of dollars a pier, a nice pier going way into what happened to the environmental impact statement. Last time I wanted to build a pier, they tie you up forever, right? There's no tying up. But here's the problem. The bad guys will take over that pier and they'll take every ounce of food and everything else, and then they'll sell it to people that have no money and that it was intended for. We have the stupidest people in the history of our country running things. These are stupid people. I'd like to use a more sophisticated word, but, you know, there are some words that just go, these are stupid people. Joe Biden should not be shouting angrily at America. America should be shouting angrily at Joe Biden. And we should be saying, Crooked Joe, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. You're incompetent. You're incompetent. Get out of here. You're destroying our nation. Get the hell out of here. You're destroying our country, Joe. He doesn't have a clue. He doesn't for the fake news. You know, it's a problem. If I have fun and I want to be a little sarcastic, because I'm a somewhat sarcastic person, I have humor. You know why I have humor? Because if I didn't, and I'm looking at what this guy has done to our country, you have to have a little humor. But sometimes I'll imitate, because you know he can never find his way off a stage. You know that, right? He makes a speech that lasts for about 2.5 minutes, and then, and then he always goes, you know, do you ever notice the weirdest thing? He goes, thank you. And he points. No, he always points. And then he starts walking, and they're waving him to the other. It's the other stair. And he goes around and doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He's lost. Then he'll walk off the back of the stage where there's no stair and fall down. No, I mean, you know, but here's the problem. Whenever I imitate that, they put me on saying I couldn't get off the stage. So I have to be very careful. When I substitute Barack Hussein Obama, has anybody ever heard of Barack Hussein Obama? And I use his name instead of, and I say, our president, Barack Hussein Obama, meaning who's calling the shots. Does everyone sort of understand it? The fake news says, he doesn't know the name of our president. He doesn't know it's Joe Biden. He must be cognitively impaired. I'm not cognitively. And you know what? When I am, you're going to know it. You're going to be the first people. I know my people. You'll say, all right, Trump, you did a good job. Get the hell out of here. That's it. That's it. No, these are very dishonest people. No, I called my wife. I said, baby, how was that? Just tell me. How good was I tonight? She watches it like she loves it, right? She said, you were good, but it's a little embarrassing. Why? They showed you couldn't find the stairs on the stage. I said, they did that to me. They did that. because it's almost impossible. These things, in this case, we only have 4 stairs. It's a small platform. Look, I have one there, believe it or not, and one here, one there. You had 3, and he can't find them, and they're right alongside of each other. And they all work, you know? I don't know, government must have built it, because you got one platform and you have stairs all over the place. Built by government. Crazy. So I have to be very careful. I can't be sarcastic, can't be fun. You can't mix names, purposely mix names.
Just about the highest. And now Joe wants to massively raise your income taxes, promising that the Trump tax cut, so that would be the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, bigger than the Reagan tax cut years before. But they want to get the Trump, he wants to get rid of the Trump tax cuts. Now they expire, so instead of just renewing them, he says, going to expire, and if I'm re-elected, he's in the North Carolina. Don't forget, he can't put 2 sentences together. He can't call the stairs off the stage. Let's see, this stage, what I'm saying. I got stairs there, I got stairs there. I got this ramp there, I got stairs there. And I got really dangerous, I can jump off the front, it's nice there. Never see him when he's finished? He finishes the speech, which usually lasts about a minute and a half. And he always goes like this. And then he doesn't know where to go. But they only have great people, Secret Service. They always run up in the stakes and they lead them off. They're great. But he wants to let our tax codes expire. And I don't do that anymore. I don't imitate them anymore. Because they called with my wife for my First Lady. And they said, First Lady, we had a big speech. By the way, not as ridiculous as this is like big record stuff on television, even in the haters. They said, this may be the biggest lie they've ever done. Then I called my First Lady and said, so, a lot of people, like Supermanism, we have nothing to say, we have Superman. I said, First Lady, how good was that? I was talking, I did in my speech when Big Fred, I said, but it's all over television, all that press, look at all of them. So it's all over television. So I said, First Lady, how great a speech was that? Who else is falling like that? Nobody could go past like that. How great was that? She said, you were okay. I said, well, what's wrong? Well, you couldn't find your way off the stage. So I was imitating them, and they said, I couldn't find my way off. That's what happened. So I have to be very careful. I'm doing the imitation, walking around, and the big news said, Trump could not find his way off. So I don't do that anymore. I just do a modified version. I do a very modified version. That happens a lot with the fake news. That's why I go with the fake news. But that means that under Biden, the average New Jersey worker will see a tax increase of just on this part. I've already got through 2 tax increases. But now another one. Add on to what I just said with the inflation taxes. That's a real tax.
But it's true. I never talk this way because, you know, I used to treat Biden with a little respect. Not a lot, but a little. More than he deserves. And you know, I talk about he didn't do a good job. Now I say he's the worst president. He's incompetent. He's not a smart person. He has no idea. He can't find the stairs to a stage. See all the stairs we have? We got more stairs here. They're all over the place. How the hell do you not find them? You can walk in any direction, and yet he... You ever watch him? He goes like this. And then and so far he's doing good because there's a stair over there, but then he walks into a wall and stuff. Thank God for the Secret Service. They usually run off, take them. This is what we're running against. How the hell do they get 50% of the vote? They start all over again. We're going to do it even better.
I just went through a rigged trial in New York. With a highly conflicted, and I mean highly conflicted judge, where there was no crime. It was
made up, fabricated stuff. They didn't want to bring the case. They could have brought the case 7 years ago. It's only when you run for office they bring cases. But they would have done that 7 years ago, not in the middle of my presidential campaign, where we're beating Biden, by the way, by a lot. Did you see? And by the way, right after the announcement of this, more campaign funds were given to this campaign than any campaign they think in history. Almost 400 million. 400. Well, there's never been, nobody's ever seen, because they know it was rigged. They know it's a corrupt system. They know all about it, but with your help, less than 5 months from now, and we're going, and I'll tell you what, we have to change the system. We have to straighten out what's going on in the states. We've got a rigged deal going this whole country, and we've got to do it, and those appellate courts have to step up and straighten things out, or we're not going to have a country any longer. But we're going to win the great state of Arizona, and we're going to... You're fired. You're doing a lousy job, the worst president in history. Joe, you're fired. How did he do today? Does anybody have a report? He shook his In a few moments, I will be taking questions. You know, he's going to be taking questions. So, I don't know. I'm not like Joe. Tell me who's going to have. You ever see that? He's got a press conference that lasts for about 2 minutes. And he goes like this. He's reading a card. NBC. Jim. And then they ask him a question and he picks up the same paper and he reads the answer. They never did that with me. No, we're going to have people asking questions. Whatever they ask is okay. Is anybody going to be watching the debate with this guy? You know, they offered me this debate, and they thought I wouldn't take it because it's on CNN. It's fake tapper. Does anyone know fake tapper? They wanted it to be seated and zero audience. And they wanted it to be short, also very short. And I said, I'll take it. Because you know what? They thought I wouldn't take it. Being on CNN, and Dana Bash is very tough to Trump. Dana Bash, another beauty. So I have Dana Bash and fake tapper. And they thought, here's what we'll do. We'll offer him the worst thing that could be offered. These two anchors, Dana Bash, fake tapper, CNN, no audience, nobody. Your children, your wife, nobody can be there. Oh, that's going to be interesting for him, though. Nobody can be there. And they want you sitting down. So I said, I'll take it. They thought what was going to happen is that I'd say, I won't do it, and then they'll say, Trump doesn't want a debate. I'll have a debate. We should have many debates, frankly. We have to find out why they like open borders where people pour in from, right, Paul? Why do they, who could like an open border? You know, more importantly, why do they want, we're the party of common sense. As an example, it's big stuff. It's bigger than people think. Why would anybody want to have men playing in women's sports? Why? You see the records that are being set in weightlifting? These are records that are not going to be beaten anytime soon, maybe in 1,000 years from now. But they're being in swimming and running, and it's so unfair and so horrible, really so demeaning to women. Who would want this? I mean, who would want it? We are the party, and we're conservative. Well, that's not, you know what, more importantly, we're the party of common sense. We want strong borders. We want to have great education for our children. We want to have low interest rates.
Time, anywhere. And in the debate, Sleepy Joe also declared that he wanted to test his skills and stamina against mine or the golf course. Can you believe this?
Can you believe this?
Did you ever see him swing? That's why this evening I am also, and this is in honor of you and everybody here, 45,000 people. That's a lot of people. I'm also officially challenging Cricket Joe to an 18-hole golf match right here.
Ducked this one. He ducked it.
On Doral Blue Monster, considered one of the greatest tournament golf courses anywhere in the world, one of the great courses of the world. It will be among the most watched sporting events in history, maybe bigger than the Ryder Cup or even the Masters. And I will even give Joe Biden 10 strokes aside. 10 strokes, that's a lot. That means 20 strokes in case you don't play golf. I will give him 10 strokes aside, and if he wins, I will give the charity of his choice, any charity that he wants, $1 million.
When I was up here 2 months ago, I imitated Biden because he can't find the stairs ever. The stairs, 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 stairs. 2 stairs. Get so many stairs. Get so many stairs, it's like too many stairs. I don't know what the hell they need them for. But they spend a lot of money. Government often will spend. Government has many more stairs than private. We put up like 1 stair. They put up like 12. But you always have a lot of stairs, so I'm imitating him, and I'm being funny, and I think I'm being so funny. And I had a tremendous crowd. We had 42,000 people, and I'm saying to the people, you know, when Biden gets off, do you ever notice? First of all, he doesn't make long speeches like that. Second of all, even though he can't read a teleprompter, he never goes off the teleprompter. It's a mess. It's a mess. And I was telling the people, I said, you know, do you ever watch when he's finished with his 2-minute speech? It never lasts more than 2, maybe 3 minutes. 3 is like a long speech. He goes, and he'll point at a stair. And then he'll walk. He'll point right at the stair, and then he won't be able to find the stair. This is what we have negotiating nuclear weapons with Putin, with Kim Jong-un, with President Xi of China.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the live stream. You know what time it is. Nearbook Truck. Shout out to Nearbook Truck, man. That's my brother right there. Shout out to Nearbook Truck. Everybody, like the live stream. Support the channel. Subscribe. Thank you so much. Okay, so Turning Point is currently happening in Arizona. And I want us to see some of the clips. So tonight I am not streaming with OBS. I'm streaming with StreamYard. So it's StreamYard. No. StreamLab. So it's a little different, but I'm just trying to work it out. But I wanted to be here so we can have a good time. I took my daughter out this evening around 5, 6 p.m. We had a good time. She had her lemonade. I drank 1 cup, actually 2 cups, and I bought 1 bottle back home. So this right here is a shot, and I don't have a shot glass, but I have my shot in here. So I'm going to sip it while we're on live stream. And yeah, good vibes, okay? Good vibes. This is good vibes, all right? With that being said, thank you so much for being here. Let's get it, man. I give you guys Kari, like, where is Kari Lake? All right, here we go.
Boy, that was quite an entrance. I got to thank Charlie Kirk for that one. That is amazing. Hello, how are you guys doing? How do you like Arizona in the winter? This is great. I want to say to you all, welcome to the golden age in America. It starts right now. Right now. And it starts right now because of you. Think about all of the work you did. I'm looking out, and even though some of you are way far back there, I recognize the faces in this crowd. The people who knocked on doors, the people who went out and handed out campaign flyers for me and other campaigns across the country, the people who put on miles and miles of walking to help President Trump get over the finish line. This is your victory. Thank you for bringing President Trump back into the White House. I love that this is going to be called the Golden Age, because it really is. And when you think about it, it started about a decade ago when many of you were maybe 10 years old, maybe in 4th or 5th grade. And now you're going to be reaping the benefits of the Golden Age. But it started when a man with golden hair came down a golden escalator. How many of you remember that? In the summer of 2015. And now it's culminated to what we've been waiting for all of this time. It's culminated into we will no longer see a two-tier justice system anymore in America under the golden era. We will no longer see a weaponized government going after we the people in the golden era. And we will no longer see open borders in the golden era. I think you're all happy about that. And you think about what President Trump has accomplished. He has literally brought down all of the obstructionists. He brought down the fake news media. He revealed what they're all about. He brought down the obstructionists in Washington, D.C. Now, the bad news is we still have a few obstructionists. Have we seen that in the last week or so? And unfortunately, some of them are right here in our own party. And I hate to say that. I wish we could say all of the trouble was over with the Democrats, but we've seen how a few people with R's behind their name are trying to actually hurt we the people as we go into this next era where America First policies are going to be implemented to make our life better once again. And we need to bring down those obstructionists and help President Trump. Are you up for that? I think about what has happened in just the last week, how much has been revealed in the last week in Washington, D.C. Did you guys vote because you want President Trump's America First policies to be brought forth in this country? Is that what you voted for? Did you vote to make America great again? Okay, I thought so. So we need to make sure that those obstructionists, whether they have a D behind their name or an R, are not going to stop we the people, because President Trump is giving we the people back our government, and we're not going to let them stop him, right? I think back to when I was running for governor, and one of the weak people that I ran against was interviewed many, many months after that race. And I'm going to read the quote. He said, "Opposing Kari Lake is a suicide mission. She doesn't run to win, she runs to destroy." And, well, we got to win because they're trying to destroy our country. So we've got to win no matter what. And that means when President Trump is going there to implement his policies, we must destroy any person who is trying to stop those policies from making their way into our lives. Are you up for that? Good. And when I say destroy, I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about with our strong voice and our vote. We proved that in this election. We made it too big to rig for President Trump. We proved that. We saw it this week when many of you got on the phone and started calling your lawmakers and your congressmen and said, "What the hell is going on? What are you thinking?" We need to use the same energy that we've used for the last couple of years to make sure that in the next 4 years, we make America great again. Okay? I think about how we want to take a little bit of time off, right? It's tempting because we work so hard. How many of you, just a show of hand, knocked doors, got involved, chased ballots? Let me see a show of hands. Keep them up. You guys are heroes. You guys are heroes. And I want to see you take that same energy that you did when you in Arizona went out in 115-degree heat and knocked on 500 doors in one weekend, and I want to take that same energy. That's how we're going to defeat the obstructionists who are going to try to stop President Trump. Because the work is really just starting now. It's just starting now, and while we are here to celebrate this huge victory of President Trump getting into the White House, we have to realize that the work is just beginning, and he can't do it alone. It's going to take him with his muscle, and that's all of you, to make sure that we truly make America great again. I know you're up for it. I used to say this on the campaign trail, and I meant it. I'm so impressed by this young generation of patriots. My kids are in this generation. And I would say to people, you got to get involved, because your generation has the most to win, the most to gain, or the most to lose. If we weren't successful, then your generation would be, as Ronald Reagan said, plunged into 1,000 years of darkness. But because we were successful, we actually have an opportunity to see the golden age, peace and prosperity for the rest of your lives. And so I thank you for all that you've done. This generation impresses the heck out of me. It really does. But we need to make a promise to President Trump right now that the energy that we put in to helping him and fighting for him to get him back in the White House, that will never stop and will never succumb to the left again and their absolute horrible ideology that has put us into the situation we're in right now. Can you make that promise to President Trump that you will get out there and stay involved in his presidency and in this administration, whether it's volunteering, getting involved, or working for the administration? Are you guys up for that? That's awesome. You know, we watched as President Trump has revealed so much to us about the truths about how corrupt Washington, D.C. is. I actually enjoyed his efforts when he was taking down the fake news. I mean, he's the one who first showed us how much lying was happening in the fake news, so much so that I decided I'm getting out of the fake news. And I'm going to be honest, I'm an optimist. I actually had a thought that maybe the fake news would reform themselves after what they've done the past 10 years, lying about President Trump, committing character assassination against President Trump, and frankly, other people who are fighting for our country. I actually thought that with this victory, they might come to their senses and wake up and reform themselves. But I don't think they're going to do that. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because as Elon Musk says, we are the news now. You are the news, not the fake news. And we've had some great people take the stage, people like Charlie Kirk, people like Benny Johnson. We've had some great people who have incredible podcasts, and their podcasts in one day will have more viewership than the entirety of the fake news in one day. That's how powerful this movement is. The fake news has become, the mainstream media has just become obsolete. But I did think of one thing that they're good for. I know, I'm hearing a gasp in the audience. What? Yes, they're good for one thing. If you see the fake news attacking someone, what you should do is say, I got to support that person, right? When they attack President Trump, relentlessly lying about him, it only made people want to support him more and more. When they attack great fighters like Eli Crane here in Arizona, that just makes me want to support him more and more. And I've always said, whoever the fake news is the loudest and attacking the most, that's who we need to get behind. So they're good for telling us really who the good guys are. The fake news is good for telling us who the good guys are. So keep that in mind if you do ever find yourself watching them. There's so much history that's going to be made in the next 4 years. Can you even, do you lay awake at night just so excited about what is coming in the next 4 years? I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one. It's funny because I used to lay awake at night, wake up at 3 a.m. and worry about, where this world is going. And while an election didn't immediately take away all the problems, we know that the solutions are coming. And we know that things are going to get better. We know that Tom Homan, who's going to be speaking in the next couple of days, is going to get busy deporting people who come here illegally and freeing up this country so that we, the people, can take our country back. And I'm excited about that. I know you are as well. And we're going to have to watch it because the fake news is going to try to make that look like the worst thing in the world. We will watch as we create millions of homecomings around the globe. We're sending people back to their homeland, and we're going to be freeing up our country for the citizens of this country. But we got to make sure that they don't spin it. You know they're going to try to spin it, and they're going to try to make it look like the worst thing in the world. I see it as human beings heading back to their homeland. They will go there and make their homeland better, and we will make our homeland better. And so I'm excited for people like Tom Homan. And we're going to have to push back when the fake news tries to take everything President Trump is going to try to do to make our country great, and they're going to try to spin it in the opposite way. That's when we have to stand up and be that voice and be the media and get out on social media and push back against that narrative, because that narrative is a false narrative. We know the truth. That truth is President Trump will make America great again. So as I get ready to wrap this up, and I guess I'm going to do questions. I've never done questions at a Turning Point event. This could be dangerous. I want to let you know that I'm looking forward to going and joining the President Trump in D.C. and the Trump administration. I'm honored. Isn't it crazy how they're already trying to bring down everybody President Trump is appointing? Did they do this with Joe Biden when he...
Trump, I think he appointed her as the voice of America or something like that. For some reason, I don't know why Kari Lake isn't able to win an election, but it's just sad because, I mean, she's articulate, she loves the country, she wants good for the country, but it's like, why isn't she able to win an election? Is it that they're not giving her the original counts, or it's just like, what is going on? And I think she was running for Arizona as well. It's like she lost twice. Well, thank God Trump put her up in his cabinet, well, in his administration for Voice of America. Let's see how she does there.
We had a cross-dressing kleptomaniac who stole luggage at the airport in charge of our nuclear waste. I didn't hear any complaining, really, from Congress and from Washington, D.C. and the media. I didn't hear any complaining, but now when he's putting out true patriots who want to help make America great, the media is going berserk. And that tells you that he's really putting out some great fighters who are not in it for themselves, they're in it for America. So I'm looking forward to it. Because where I am going, we're going to make sure that the American story is told in an accurate and fair manner. We're going to get back to real journalism, describing what's happening as we make history for the next 4 years in the President Trump administration. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to joining you and this incredible young generation that I admire so much in making America great again with President Trump. So I thank you so much, and let's do some questions, guys. Any questions out there? Right here. Are you the first one, Heather?
How does she know Heather?
Can we get a microphone for her? Anybody? Or the? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't follow the first rule, which is the questions are back there. Come on. Do you want to have her ask a question while we wait for Heather?
Okay, I want to say my name is Judy Cervantes. I'm here because of my nieces and my nephew. But we want to ask you, are you running for governor again?
Oh my gosh. You know what, guys? I am going to go help President Trump in Washington, D.C. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help President Trump. That's where I want to do as much as I can to make sure that we get this country turned around. So thank you for the question. Heather.
All right. So, one thing I love about you, Kari, is, so many people run for office, but you ran beyond Election Day and you fought in the courts when they stole the election from you. And I believe they did it twice. So my question is what do we have to do to restore election integrity in Arizona? Because if election integrity is a state issue, how can the Trump administration, now that we have the federal government, impact election integrity on a state level?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, you know, we're not where we need to be on elections. And that's one of the reasons I don't want to run again, to be honest. Why put yourself through that torture again? We know the movement that we have in Arizona. If you live in Arizona, you get what's going on, and we're not there yet. Thankfully, President Trump's victory, it was too big to rig. It was too big to rig. I have not given up on election integrity. I want you all to know that. I haven't. But it's really, really hard to fight for election integrity when you've got corruption that is so deep as it is in Arizona. We know that our elections have not been run properly, and there's massive corruption there, and there's massive corruption in the court system. And and nobody can say I did not work hard to push for big changes in elections. What I think we need to do is make sure that we don't stop. And we keep telling our local and our state lawmakers this is priority number one. And we don't want just some fake election integrity. We want real election reform. We got to stay on these Arizona lawmakers to get real election reform. And then I'm counting on President Trump to live up to his promise to get to the bottom of election fraud, and I believe he will. And I'm counting on, actually, the federal government, when it comes to federal races, demanding accountability, transparency, and something closer to election day, paper ballots, no machines. Right? Especially when it comes to federal races, so they can call the shots on federal races, and then we'll make sure that those federal races are run well. And hopefully, when there's a federal candidate on the ballot, that means everybody will benefit from those kind of reforms. We got a cowboy over here. Hello.
Hi, Ms. Kari Lake. I met you back at Americafest 2021, and you actually approached me. And so I wanted to say I love your character. You love to. I remember. Were you running for governor back then, or when did you start running?
That must have been way back on my very first Turning Point event.
Yes.
I remember it was during COVID, so they had to have just a few people in the room, right? And you must have been like this big.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think I had announced that I was running for governor. I was mulling it over at the time.
Yes, I remember that.
I'm so glad to see that you are a patriot and involved, and thank you. I mean, really, this generation, I am so impressed with this young generation.
I actually do have your signature on this hat as well from all the way back then.
I missed what you just said.
I have your signature on my hat from all the way back then, too.
Oh, my gosh. I love it.
But I just wanted to say, at what age did you feel God's calling to do what you are doing now? Like, what age, like, way back when did you feel that?
To get into politics?
Just becoming a leader.
Oh, well, I've always felt God's calling, that God had made me to be special, just like he made each and every one of us to be special. But it was really during COVID that I had a huge wake-up call, and I realized we have to do more. We can't sit silent. As painful as it is to be canceled and have the...
I'm not even going to cap, man. Kari Lake, she is gorgeous. She is absolutely beautiful. This is a beautiful woman that is trying to save America, man. Come on. Arizona is definitely effed up for a fact. And it's like Democratic, it's like they have a chokehold in Arizona. It's like Illinois, Chicago. It's like, there's no way. It's going to be probably 2028, maybe a Republican is going to win in Illinois. The Republican governor, especially with the way the mayor is acting right now in Chicago. Yeah, it's going to go. Chicago is going to turn red. It's going to flip red. A mayor that is a Republican may probably win Chicago. But back to Kari Lake. Yeah. She is absolutely gorgeous, and she loves America. She's well-spoken, outspoken, articulate. I don't know how she doesn't win. That's the thing. Like, I just said it, like, how doesn't she win every election? She's lost 2 elections now, or 3 elections. Like, how? How is she losing these elections? But like I said, Arizona, they have a very strong chokehold. The Democrat have a strong hold on Arizona, just like Illinois, Chicago. It is what it is. But shout out to Kari Lake, man. Hopefully one day I get to ask Kari Lake some questions, sit down, do an interview with her. That's my goal for 2025, 26. Matter of fact, for the next 5 years, from 2025 to 2030, my goal is to really dive deep into the political trenches of the United States. Because, you know, this is something that I find myself actually liking and falling in love with. I want to actually know more about these candidates, these people, how their thought process goes. I also want to learn a lot about the United States. This is teaching me a lot about the United States. It's teaching me a lot about the United States. And the fact that I wasn't born in the United States. I just got here like 7, 8 years ago. Became a citizen like 2 years ago. And I'm learning about the United States. And I really love this country. I want to be a part of it. Well, I am a part of it. But I really want to do more than just talk. I want to go to these events, interview people, get to know these guys, and bring you guys like the best interviews. But I feel like there's some questions that people are not asking because I'm like an outsider, supposedly, like allegedly. I'm like an outsider, and when I do ask questions, it would be different because I'm not gonna be asking like the regular questions. Like I would be asking questions that really carries weight and coming from another perspective because like I said, I'm not from here. It's different. Okay, I would ask you questions that would really make you think and be like, oh, maybe we should be doing this. Manuel says, anyone else getting echo? Maybe it's my. Is it better now? Manuel, let me know if it's better now. Let me reduce the volume of my mic. It might just be the volume of my mic. But yeah, shout out to Manuel. Let me know if it's better now. So, yeah. The next 5 years, that's my plan from now to 2030. But 2025 starts a new beginning. We're gonna stream more. We're gonna like get outside, talk to people. Hopefully, is it better now? Oh, it's not better. It might just be. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I'm gonna have to switch streams anyway. I'm gonna switch it to OBS. This is Streamlab. I'm gonna switch to OBS after this Kari Lakes talk, and we're gonna go back to OBS. I guess OBS is it. Yeah. With that being said, man, let's keep going. So I'm gonna go to OBS, so we don't waste our time on this echo.
The media attack you.
Sorry to hear that, man. I'm gonna change it. Just give me a moment after this.
What we've all been going through since then. If we don't stand up and step into that thing that we're afraid of, whether it was getting called out, being canceled, running for office, if we don't stand out and step into our fear, we'll never overcome our fear and we'll never save our country. So I think for a lot of people, COVID was a big wake-up call. That's when I felt God urging me and pushing me into a different direction in my life. And it has not been easy, but I would not change a thing. And if I'm out of time now, but if the powers that be, the corrupt powers that be, think that I'm going away, I'm going to disappear because of the hijinks they've been up to, I'm never going away. I'm never going away. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep fighting for America. We're going to keep fighting for Arizona. We're going to keep fighting for this young generation. And together we're going to save America and save the world. God bless you, Turning Point. Thank you, Charlie and Tyler. And I love all of you very much. Thank you so much.
All right, so the gang, everybody here is saying there's an echo. Ladies and gentlemen, your boy would be signing out right now. But I will be back with OBS, and we're going to be streaming both ways, horizontal and vertical. For some reason, YouTube recommends that people join the horizontal, not the vertical, because the vertical is like, according to YouTube, there may be like a lot of bots on there, but like the horizontal stream, like this one that you're currently watching right now, I would recommend you guys stay on the horizontal. But regardless, if you want to watch the vertical, if you want to watch the horizontal, it's your choice. Thank you for tuning in. I will be back with OBS. Shout out to Streamlab, but we gotta leave Streamlab right now and get to OBS. God bless you guys. Thank you.